You know you're a b-boy when you're wearing a snapback with matching dicky shorts. Yup, b-boy stance. Alright, what up guys? Bboy.Magneto here from Now or Never crew. In this video I'm going to show you guys some proper practice etiquette and in my eyes how to train effectively and improve twice as fast. What's the best and most effective way to train or practice? This is the #1 question, literally #1 question that I've asked every b-boy that I've met that's been above me in stature. I've always asked them, how do you train? What's the best way to train? What's the most effective way to train? How do you become better? Etc, 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 etc. And I never get a straight reply. So I'm gonna try and break it down for you guys today and give you some really simple points. Okay guys, first factor I'm gonna go over is proper practice etiquette. 2 hours versus 8 hours. Now, this is something that's going to apply to as soon as you get past that beginner stage and start moving more advanced. So for me, when I first started breaking, it took me a good couple years to get into it, but then when I got into it more, I had a lot of time on my hands, so I'd chill at a practice spot for a good 6 to 8 hours. And I would improve, don't get me wrong, and it definitely got me past that beginner stage, but as soon as I started getting past that stage, I realized that I was spending way too much time at the practice spot and getting way too little done. So for this concept, the big thing to remember is less is more, okay? So we can be at a practice spot for 6 to 8 hours, we can train for 6 to 8 hours, or we can train for 2 hours and get the same, if not more, done. I'm constantly reminding myself that our minds and our bodies can only focus so long. We only have so much energy before we start making bad habits, we start having a higher risk of injury, and we start losing focus altogether. So we have to remember that we have to train effectively in those 2 to 3 hours versus training ineffectively and inefficiently in those 3 to 6 hours. Okay guys, now let's break down what a perfect practice looks like. Again, perfect. So remember, a perfect practice is just when you can do your best, when you have the most energy, and when you can be most efficient and effective in that time frame. So we're gonna do a 2.5 hour time frame because in my eyes that's the perfect time frame. First 15 minutes, warm up, super important. Either you wanna do handstands, basic freezes, top rock, or whichever. Now before you do anything, make sure you stretch out your ankles and your knees. I've definitely had experiences where I'll go right into practice and be like, warm up time, fast top rock, and I move and the first thing I do is roll my ankle. That's warm up. Now after you do warm up, for the next 30 to 45 minutes, you want to work on the hardest, most technically, physically laboring moves you're going to be working on in that practice. Make sure you're doing them with your full energy. So that's when you're going to be really exploding, so you want to do that for the first 30 to 45 minutes after warm up. So now you should be at 1 hour mark. After the first hour, you can start moving into more stylized stuff and stuff that you want to do more with creating with your mind. After you've done that, I'd say that's about 1.5 hours in now. For the last half an hour, you should do stamina, cardio, so footwork, top rock, and just really kill yourself. Drills, everything. For that last half an hour, you should be just killing yourself, going all out, using all your energy. Now after that last half an hour, we're now at 2 hours mark. Okay guys, last 30 minutes of practice, we're gonna stretch. Super important. The first 15 minutes and the last 30 minutes of practice are the most important because that's when we prevent injury from happening. And if we're injured, we can't practice, so we gotta make sure that's the most important and we put that and value it very highly. Why 30 minutes for stretching? I know that might feel a long time for you, but for me, this is how I can not just sustain my flexibility, I can improve my flexibility. Okay guys, next one, conditioning. Me being a skinny white boy, this is definitely one I had to develop and work on constantly. We have to remember we're pretty much Olympic athletes, or at least we train like them when we start getting more and more passionate about breaking. So we have to treat our bodies with respect and condition them too. We can't just be like, okay guys, air floor time, power time. No, it doesn't work that way. That's a great way to get injured. That is how I injured my wrist and how I've injured my ankles and a lot of my body is thinking I'm Superman. I can just do whatever I want. No, you can't do that. You have to make sure we're constantly conditioning our body. So whether that be push-ups, pull-ups, or just crunchies, or running, or whatever it is, make sure you add conditioning into your routine. Okay, make sure you add it in. It's super important with your training. Condition at least 3 times a week. I personally prefer calisthenics over weight training just because in my eyes, I want to stay small and have more of that Bruce Lee style body. But if you do want to use weights, I'm definitely not against it. Just make sure you do higher reps and lower weight. We've got the last one. We've got the last one. Alright guys, last one. Mentality. This is definitely the hardest one in my eyes and one I struggled with most personally. For this one, you really have to realize that if you want this, if you want to be a professional b-boy, if you want to be an internationally known and respected b-boy, if this is really your dream and what you want to do, you have to go for it. You have to grab the bull by the horns and really hang on for dear life. Learning how to admit your mistakes is the fastest track to success. If you can go up to that peer, that mentor, just even your friend that has that move a little bit better than you or a lot better than you, and tell them, hey, could you help me with this? Could you give me a hand? They'll be like, oh wow, really? You're coming to me to ask for help? Well, yeah, of course I'll help you. I'm happy to. Because when you ask people for feedback, they feel good about themselves and then they want to help you. So make sure that you don't let yourself get full of fear and insecurity and anxiety about asking people. Because I did myself. I definitely took me, at least 2 to 3 years of breaking before I could start asking people for feedback because I was just too scared. I didn't want to admit that I was bad or have mistakes or failures or anything. If you forget everything in the video and you should remember that one thing and you can just learn to ask people for feedback, you're going to improve tenfold. Okay, not letting fear control you and having self-confidence at practice. Another super important factor, and one that again is tough to develop, but once you get it, it feels good, man, and you really want to keep going with it once you get it. Another super important factor, and one that will definitely help you improve left, right, and center. This is definitely something I struggled with a lot growing up because I would always go to practice and only train moves that were comfortable with me, and only train moves in the corner or this side of the room or that side of the room or with people I felt comfortable with. Never with people that scared me or I felt were better than me or anything because I was too full of fear and I wouldn't let myself get out of it. So again, remember, you're holding yourself back from being out there. If you want it, you gotta go for it. Learn to practice in front of people. Learn to practice in the environments that make you uncomfortable. I always believe that change is good. So never have a set training schedule for too long in my eyes. Always change stuff up so you can keep having fun and stay motivated with it. Because if we're not motivated, if we're not having fun, we're not gonna enjoy breaking and eventually we're just gonna either hate it and wanna quit or just be unhappy. Alright guys, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed. This was Bboy.Magneto from Now or Never Crew. Please like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out!